Mirror's Edge is a parkour game unlike any other, and is arguably the best example of this relatively unexplored genre yet. The entire premise revolves around you playing as a character named Faith, who runs away after her sister is wrongfully accused of a crime she didn't commit. All this takes place in a gorgeous utopian city that still looks great today, even though it's over 10 years old. It's pretty short, but every minute of gameplay is packed with intensity and challenge, as you try to find your way through a cityscape, being chased by an ever-present force. Somehow Mirror's Edge was largely ignored when it first came out, but no other game has managed to replicate its unique feel to this day. VVVVVV is an excellent platform game, albeit ridiculously difficult at some points. It's heavily inspired by old 8-bit platform games, but offers unique flip mechanics, allowing you to control gravity to flip protagonist Captain Viridian from floor to ceiling and back again. After completing the main game, there is another set of levels also developed by other game developers, adding a few more hours of gameplay on top of it. VVVVVV may be Terry Kavanagh's best work and is well worth your time. BioShock is widely regarded as one of the best shooters of the 2000s, but its sequel is largely overlooked, although just as good if not better in some places. You play as one of the Big Daddies and are tasked with solving the mystery behind the little girls lost on the Atlantic coast. The answers are hidden in Rapture. Its gameplay is way ahead of the original, and the return to Rapture is as good as you'd expect. The urban version of BioShock 2 is the best setting in the series, and aside from the messy first few hours, it's a great experience. Titanfall 2 is probably one of the best FPS games you've never played, as it's between the release dates of Call of Duty and Battlefield. The campaign is one of the best Dishonored has ever seen, but the real star of the show is the multiplayer, which is great, especially because of the added Titans that bring so much more variety to combat skirmishes. There's also the fact that all DLCs except cosmetics are completely free. This is a move that most other developers have followed in recent years. Apex Legends may have gotten a little more attention in recent years, but Titanfall 2 deserves more attention. Sunset Overdrive, one of the least valued games of the last generation, is one of the rare games not produced by Insomniac Games for the PlayStation platform. It is an open-world near-future game that is tasked with dealing with the mutant threat, using the best weapons and abilities in a city overrun by mutant creatures. You can wall run, erode tracks and use zip lines to park in Sunset City. The game encourages you to stick to a fast-paced playstyle, and rewards you for quickly taking down enemies. Sometimes it's not hard to get the idea that a game can make you feel cool and powerful without reminding you that you suck. Psychonauts is a rather bizarre game. The main protagonist, named Roz, embarks on an adventure after learning that a mysterious figure has stolen psychic children to use their brains for their treacherous tools. Your adventure will take you into the minds of a number of different characters, each with their own nightmares and inner demons to fight. It's an incredibly creative game and features ideas that other games would be afraid to even consider. With the sequel on the way, there's never been a better time to play Psychonauts. Risk of Rain 2 is a third-person roguelike game with a minimalist art style, but the gameplay is nothing more than flashy sets and synergies that are always present with every run. It can be a bit overwhelming when you first dive, but eventually it all comes together to make perfect sense, and at that point you're hooked. It even has cooperative play, so you and up to 3 of your friends can join and play together. The gameplay is quite satisfying, and the tons of content to explore are unprecedented, even for a roguelike game. Platinum Games' beautiful game Astral Chain is an action-adventure game set in a city in the near future, when a horde of dangerous creatures are trying to invade the city. Your character joins a police force called Nurn, and each member is assigned a legion who acts as your partner in both the detective and combat parts of the game. It's a pretty ambitious game that looks and works surprisingly well on the Nintendo Switch, especially because of how wild fighting can be in the later parts of the game. There's also a great balance between humorous moments and a more seriously thought-out plot. Star Wars Battlefront 2 had one of the biggest redemption arcs in gaming history, sparking amid great controversy surrounding both its lack of content and its deeply embedded microtransaction system. After years of free updates and content releases, the current game is a modern love letter to the Star Wars franchise, and a great shooter for movie fans and general shooter fans alike. This is a great classroom shooter, and most of the maps and game modes are fun to play, even if some modes take a little too long. Of course, having a Star Wars license gives Battlefront 2 an edge in some areas as well. Nothing can mimic the feeling of descending into battle using Luke Skywalker's iconic green lightsaber, or wielding the Slave One seismic charge. Okami certainly suffered a lot due to the close launch date it shared with Twilight Princess, and it was released on the same day, especially because of its similarities to the Zelda series. Okami combines fantasy and action-adventure to create a breathtaking watercolor adventure, all set in feudal Japan. Your main weapon is a magic brush that helps Amaterasu, the wolf goddess who play, interact with the world, solve puzzles and fight enemies. If anyone questions the idea that video games are art, just show them Okami.